Welcome to the Emotional Eating Unwrapped podcast. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, an emotional eating and weight loss coach for women looking to fall in love with eating, create healthy attachments with food, and lose weight sustainably. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, and if you're watching on YouTube, hello. So nice to see you again. And if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, so grateful for you. So happy that you are here listening to this episode because it is actually one of my favorite topics. We're going to be talking about the secret power of rituals over resolutions. And this is probably going to be released around New Year's. So I feel like this is a really good time for this episode because from the time I was born, at least, New Year's resolutions have been something that is everywhere. And society and marketing and business all push resolutions as motivation and all push resolutions as, this vehicle towards getting what you want, right? So I'm going to make a resolution to get X result. And the problem is that most of these resolutions are rooted in an energy of like pushing, right? And they're rooted in an energy of like short term, right? Like a resolution is a resolve. And then what does a resolve do? It resolves, right? Like when the pure definition of resolving means that it ends. So when you think of a resolution, we're basically saying that we're gonna commit to an action and then it's going to end. We're kind of setting ourselves up. And when we set ourselves up with a resolution, we might get a result, right? And I'm sure if you've done Whole30 or you've done like a macro program for 6 weeks, lose the holiday weight. I'm gonna resolve to do this. I'm gonna do dry January, whatever. So that, so that you can lose weight, so that you can feel more energy and detox, you will get that result. But the essence of a resolution is not something that is sustainable. The essence of a resolution is not something that's sustainable. What is sustainable is building rituals. Okay, what is sustainable in building rituals? And building rituals starts with the intention to which we start taking the actions around which we are going to change our lives, not by taking the actions only to get a result, but by taking the action so that we can laminate those actions as regular habits, regular behaviors in our life where it's second nature. Right? So that we're elevating our level of living 365 days a year. Right? We don't need to get to a low level so that we can have a resolution, get to a high level for a short, limited period of time, and then go back down to a low level again. And then it's a cycle again. Ultimately, this work, my work, healing from emotional eating, all has a very similar theme. It's all about getting out of cycles and creating more neutrality and less ups and downs and more balance, more neutral, so that we can consistently be at a high level. Obviously, sometimes we might, drop a little bit, but, and we might need some guide, some sort of structured tool to kind of pull us up, but it's not like a huge overhaul, right? A lot of these resolutions are selling big overhauls. Like I resolve to change, right? And they're usually quick fixes. They're usually promises of overnight transformation. But these aren't what make for sustainable shifts and lasting change. This isn't what makes for losing 50 pounds, losing 40 pounds, and having that be just your regular body throughout the year, right? It's not, it's not like feeling energized throughout the year, right? It's like I do a detox, I feel energized for 2 weeks, and then I start kind of eating regularly again because I resolved to do this kind of very rules-oriented, strict structure where I just followed it. I got to a result and that was it, right? And so resolutions are normally rooted in wanting just a result, whereas rituals are more intentional, right? Rituals are much more about the bigger picture, right? So today I want to talk a little bit more about how the secret power of creating rituals can help us move away from the cycle and the rebound that resolutions sometimes put us into, right? They sometimes set us up for emotional eating cycles, for binging cycles, right? Because we're very narrow focused on a result instead of being wider focused on a bigger picture of a life that feels fuller, calmer, relaxed nervous system, more intentional, including more of, including more nuance, including more flexibility, including, just being able to trust ourselves more, right? How many times have you started a new year with the resolution, with the, that results resolution to get your body ripped or like get your body in good shape? Maybe it's not ripped for this audience, but like, to lose the weight, change your body, right? And then maybe you did follow something and maybe you did lose some weight, but the resolution wasn't a ritual, so it didn't stick because the actions that you took during the container that you were doing the resolution were not actions that could be sustainable to your life, your regular life. So when I would do that, usually by mid-February, I was already kind of like, I already felt like I failed, right? And perhaps you feel the same way also. And then I would kind of be back to where I was, right? Like every day I'd be like looking in the mirror as I got dressed, feeling the waistband get tighter and feeling more and more like anxious, feeling more and more like edgy and scared because I'm like, what is happening? And then, I didn't really change anything about my emotional state. I didn't really target the emotional stuff. So what did I do? I went back to my normal like way of dealing with my uncomfortable emotions, which was, reaching for food, binging, because my resolution wasn't necessarily to be connected to myself. My resolution was to lose weight, right? And so being so focused on my body, I didn't realize in the resolution time that my mind and my emotions needed healing, and those heal differently, right? I remember one year I cut out, right? Like I did so many things. I like only ate fruit in the morning. I was following a certain diet. I was like, didn't have processed sugar or like, white sugar. I didn't have processed foods. And for a few weeks, it felt good. I felt like I was doing good and I felt relaxed that I had something to follow. I was actually feeling better. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, you do get results with these things, right? You do get physical, superficial results with these programs, right? They wouldn't be as successful as they are if they didn't get people results, right? They just wouldn't. They do. They get people results, but they don't get people sustainable long-term change. Right? So what happened? So I'd cut it out. I cut out the sugar. Then like my life happened, right? Like I got invited to a bunch of dinners and parties, and I had some dessert, and then I had some drinks, and I just here and there, and then I'd wake up in the morning and I'd get dressed, and because probably similar to you, I'm so hyper focused on like results and like not wanting to lose my results. I was always like in how my clothes would feel, and then I would feel them getting tighter. And I would just feel, and like slowly, 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 that resolve went away because it wasn't a ritual. And it just didn't feel like I was the one in control, like I was the one with the power. I felt like powerless. I felt helpless. I felt like it was just leaving me, right? It was leaving. The results were leaving, and it made me anxious, right? And I realized that resolution was really kind of just feeding into this willpower thing, and long-term change is not willpower. And by doing resolutions in this way, I was setting myself up to fail. And I think that happens for a lot of people who are really struggling with the emotional attachments they have with food and what they're using food for, as far as managing difficult emotions and automatic and habitual, compulsive, and urgent ways that you are behaving with food. I think we hope, and then we also, and then, there's also an element of obviously weight loss, but we just kind of focus on the weight loss, thinking that if I do the resolution and I get to the weight loss, I'm also going to heal that other emotional stuff, right? I'm not going to need emotional support if I'm skinny. I'm not going to need emotional support around food if I'm skinny, but that's not true, right? They're two completely separate things. So this year, I want you to try something different. Instead of focusing on resolutions that center on your body, I want you to focus on rituals that are about bolstering up all of you, your emotional well-being, your mental health, your ability to feel like you live a life of purpose, your ability to feel joy and connection. What if just saying my resolution is to lose weight and get to a certain weight and get to a certain size clothes, which is also totally fine. It's a total fine goal. But what if you also said, I want to build a life where I feel calm in my nervous system. I want to build a life where I walk into the house and I feel like my heart is really warm because I'm being greeted with, warmth and love and connection and joy. What if you say, I want to build a life where, I put my energy into into tasks every day that, not every single one of them, but at least I could say half of them, I can walk away feeling a sense of self-esteem, like I am doing something that's aligned with my soul. I remember what it felt like to be stuck in the cycle of emotional eating. I tried every diet out there, counting, tracking, restricting, but nothing ever worked. Food controlled my life, my thoughts, and I constantly felt guilty after eating. But once I learned how to heal the emotional triggers behind my eating and trust my body, everything changed. I stopped obsessing over food, the weight started coming off naturally, and I found real freedom in how I ate and lived. So, I created the Sober Eating year-long mentorship to help other women experience the same transformation so you can stop battling with food, you can lose weight without deprivation, and you can feel confident in your body again. In this mentorship, you'll have access to my proven nervous system rewiring method. You'll have access to live coaching with me, weekly accountability, and a community of women who truly understand your journey. You'll also have free access to my signature programs, the Emotional Eating Solution and Decoding Permanent Weight Loss, valued at $2,000. And to help you get started, your first month, it's just $33, no strings attached, just a chance to see what's possible for you. Click the link in the show notes to explore the mentorship today. You don't have to do this alone. I'll be right there with you every step of the way. It's not about a drastic overhaul, right? This isn't like give me the module to do this. This isn't about resolutions are a lot about plug into this Whole30. I'm going to do Whole30 for my New Year's resolution. I'm going to do dry January. So it's like 30 days of a totally different, extreme, drastic shift that ends up being completely unrelated to how you would live your life. Rituals are small intentional actions that collaborate with your day-to-day life. They're compatible with your day-to-day life and they help you reconnect to yourself And then once you have that reconnection to yourself, you have that internal generator of emotional support that you start to build within yourself. And through that sense of inner power, you get the weight loss result, right? Like that happens because you don't need the destructive behaviors with eating. You don't need to eat when you're not hungry. You know the difference, right? You have all these discernments. You have all these different ways of being with yourself that you don't need to do the behavior that's making you gain weight to begin with, that's leading to the weight gain, right? Because food doesn't lead to weight gain. It's our behaviors with food that lead to weight gain. Food does not lead to weight gain. Right? And if you've worked with me in the past or you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you know that I believe that you can eat all food, right? Of course, if you have diabetes, if you have some sort of pre-existing medical condition, maybe you can't eat something, but otherwise you can eat anything, right? Food doesn't lead to weight gain. Our behavior and our unconscious, subconscious attachments, relationships to food is what leads to weight gain. Okay, so instead of resolving and setting a resolution where, you are like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to plug myself into this huge overhaul thing and I'm going to get to this weight loss result. What if instead you created a ritual of, just every morning you do something, right? Like, so for me, every morning, practice yoga and meditation. Okay, some days it's 60 minutes, some days it's 20 minutes. Some days my meditation is 6 minutes. Some days my meditation is 24 minutes. Some days it's 45 minutes, right? But I always do it because that ritual keeps me connected to myself. It creates this inner sense of it creates an inner sense of resolve, ironically, that doesn't end. It's something I can plug into, right? So yours could be, a walk. Yours could be, sitting with your cup of coffee, walking outside of your door and taking a couple breaths. Right? Just whatever feels good to you. But the main thing about rituals is that they only become rituals when you do them, right? Intending to do something and not doing it, it's not going to become a ritual. And that's how we get caught in the trap of resolutions, is when we don't create this consistent, reliable, predictable, where our nervous system gets comfortable being in a state of expansion on a regular basis where it can hold space for ourselves. Right? So the rituals might seem really small initially, but they add up. And they help you to break free from compulsive, addictive behaviors like binging and emotional overeating, because they give you another way to soothe yourself, sure, in the moment, but they also train your brain and nervous system to not need that immediate self-soothing, right? You're getting yourself into this neutral place regularly. You're raising the level of your vibration 365 days of the year so that you don't need to be in this destructive, addictive, compulsive, urgent pattern with food. Because what these rituals do is it gives your brain and your nervous system and your body the messaging that I'm here for myself, I'm listening to myself, and I care about myself. And that's all we really want. But it has to start with us. It has to start with us first. And I know it can feel challenging and difficult to shift away from the traditional ideas, marketing of New Year's resolutions, because there's also a certain community element to it. So that's another reason why people really like resolutions, is because a lot of people are doing them together and you feel like you're part of a tribe and you feel like you belong. But that's also why you want to create that feeling for yourself throughout the year. And rituals do that within yourself, right? Like you're creating community with yourself. But part of the ritual that you can create for yourself is connecting to community, right? Like I like going to places and being with people and committing to those rituals, right? So I like to go to yoga. I like to go to meditation, right? The ritual that we create in the mentorship, the Eat Freely, Live Fully mentorship community, is that we show up to the community group. So one of the reasons why the women have so much success in the mentorship is because every day they're getting reinforced that they belong, that they're in a community, that they're healing. They don't need to go to food for that sense of relaxing, that comfort, that emotional support, because they're getting it every day just by like going to their computer and connecting. And that's all we really want, right? If you think about a resolution, they're usually done in community because community is really important, but you want to plug into a community that creates ritual and not something that's going to take you so far out of your daily lifestyle that almost, it's like you almost set yourself up to fail, or you almost sabotage yourself by cutting yourself off from your self-trust because you're so disconnected from your day-to-day life. It's such a huge, it's such a massive difference. The actions and resolutions are often such a massive difference from our day-to-day, and that's sustainable. Okay? And so that's one of the reasons why I love the idea of rituals instead of resolutions, because rituals aren't about like this perfect formula to follow. Like I said, this perfect, it's not about beginning and end. It's not about immediate results. It's about consistency. It's about intention. And it's about creating an expansive support system for yourself long term. And because they're tied to your deeper needs, rituals are usually tied to you meeting your deeper needs. They're so much easier to sustain, and they're also long lasting. Okay. So if you are thinking about creating rituals for yourself this year, if you are, listening to this and being like, oh, maybe I should shift a little bit. This sounds interesting to me. I want to create rituals. And maybe you're even a little bit nervous about letting go of the idea of some big, huge overhaul. Maybe you were excited about the resolution time of year because, that's something that you kind of see as a reset. But think about the word reset. Let's get to the place where we don't need to reset. That's when we know we're healed, is when our level has raised so much in our 365 days a year that we don't really ever need to get to a place where we need to reset. Right? So start small. Choose one thing that feels meaningful to you and just tie it to an existing habit, right? Like if you have the coffee in the morning, have coffee and maybe listen to a meditation. If you're part of the mentorship, have coffee and listen to one of the nervous system rewiring trainings. That will be major. Maybe it's practicing gratitude, writing down 2 things, right? Just something that will start to expand. It'll meet your deeper needs and expand. And if, and one of the things that you really want to call in for your life is weight loss, then exercise could for sure be something. Tuning into your hunger cues. But these are things that you want to do consistently, 365 days a year. Right? I don't think it would be a sexy New Year's resolution program if someone said, New Year's resolution, tune into your hunger cues. Like that wouldn't work, right? And that probably wouldn't work because it takes a while to turn into your hunger cues. It can't be a resolution. It can't really be a start and end because it's a regular practice. Rituals should feel personal and flexible. It's not about adding more tasks to your to-do list or, separating yourself from your day-to-day. It's about creating space for yourself, for your emotions, and for things that truly, truly matter to you. And as the year goes on, the rituals evolve. right? Like you're going to notice how just starting small, they evolve and they expand, as does your, as does your ability to feel good in your body, feel in control of eating. The weight loss usually happens naturally and effortlessly once you create rituals that meet your deeper needs, right? So your results will come through rituals, not through resolutions. So if this resonates with you, like I mentioned, I have a mentorship and it is so, so wonderful. You could start for 30 days for $33. Super, super easy with access to so many trainings, coaching, nervous system rewiring trainings. And I would love, love, love to have you in the group. I do coaching, live coaching every other week. So we can chat, we can build rituals together. And I'm really, really looking forward to meeting you when you join that mentorship. So as always, I'm wishing you a great week. And remember that whatever you're working towards, however you want to feel in life, you could do it. You are worth it. And if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, I appreciate you. I love you. Please like, review. Please send us a comment. We love getting them. And that is all for me. Until next time, I'm Alana, and thank you for listening to Emotional Eating Unwrapped.